Hey everyone, what's up? I'm Colton Steele, and I directed the film you're about to see, Star Wars Episode 0 Rise of the Jedi. So, as we're looking at the opening logos here, I just all wanted to let you all know that this was my first attempt at filmmaking ever. I filmed this about 6 years ago when I was around 13, 14 years old. I pretty much knew nothing about filmmaking back then. So, this was my first attempt at filmmaking. So, yeah, I was very grateful that my friend Tyler Hooker and my other friends from my Boy Scout trip decided to help me out in this film. Also, right there you see Colton Steel Films logo. I wanted to use the iconic Lucasfilm thing right there instead of my own. And there's the iconic long time ago galaxy far far away. Now this right here, a lot of people actually had a little surprise at this. They had no idea I was actually going to add footage of the first episode, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and my opening here. No one saw that coming. Now, back in the day when I decided to make this film, this was not part of the film at all, period. This is something I added in 6 years later to make the film even better. Because without this extra footage that I will point out now and then that I added in, the film was pretty boring and basic and really didn't make any sense. So I added a lot of this other stuff in to make it better and make it more interactive. Well, not interactive, maybe more immersive. And there you go. They go, of course, the iconic Star Wars logo. Of course, I had it to make this look as identical to all the movies as possible. So I added this in about maybe a year ago when I was doing my editing. This is like one of the first things I actually created in Premiere Pro and After Effects was the opening titles. Again, that little typo right there, and after the period, that was a typo right there. That was my mistake. My sister actually pointed that out to me, and I feel really stupid that I did not notice that typo when I was rendering out my final edit. So I feel a little stupid about that. Anyway, of course, you see the opening titles here. Uh, the iconic Star Wars music, John Williams' music is just amazing. So I could not do a Star Wars film without having John Williams' music. So even though his music does not appear much in the film, maybe like I think 3 times. So I didn't want to add so much music that this film gets taken down off of YouTube around the world. I wanted a lot of people to see this, so I made sure not to add as much copyright music as I could. So a lot of people have the chance to see this film. Anyway, we're coming down on my old home. This is a color correction, by the way. This was not shot at night, as you could tell. I think anyone could tell that. And the sound definitely was boosted up because you couldn't hardly hear them. Colson and Caleb definitely did a good job at what I gave them to do and say. Uh, they definitely, I believe, for the time, owned the rules, even though this was just really an experimental film and we were just having a blast with it. As you can see, the quality is looks like an unprofessional did it. But again, I did the best I could to make it look as good as possible. And as you can also hear that some of this dialogue I came up with for this film was really bad. I mean, like really, really bad. I have no idea why I thought some of this dialogue was such a good idea when I created it back then. But I'm kind of glad I finished this film 6 years later because I actually get to add stuff that I never thought of back then, or I didn't even know I could actually think it was possible back then to put in the film. But now I do, and it made it look even better. The lightsabers were actually made out of pipes, like I think what maybe what do you call it? Like sink pipes. I don't know what we call those kind of pipes, but anyway, I cut up these pipes, these plastic tube pipes, and I just put some tape, duct tape around them because duct tape fixes everything and makes everything look pretty cool. Duct tape does. So anyway, I just duct taped a couple of them together and created two lightsabers. And the bigger one there, my lightsaber, I just did a little paint job. I don't know why I didn't do a paint job for the other two. I guess I just didn't have time. I don't remember why. Now, some of this dialogue was improvised and ad lib. I mean, Colson really did a great job of coming up with some pretty funny dialogue right up on the spot, and so did Caleb. Caleb and Colson always had a little bit of a funny bone in them, so they knew how to come up with some pretty good dialogue. I did sometimes as well. Like you could tell that a scene like this one was definitely improvised. Like the script was really basic, so we didn't have anything really to say on it. So we pretty much just came up with dialogue right on the spot, which is why most of the dialogue is pretty bad. I mean, not all of it, but most of it. And of course, the first effects there, the first lightsaber effects I've ever did for a film like this, and I honestly never want to do it again. The lightsaber effects are really difficult to do. They're not hard, but difficult wise as in time wise. It really takes hours and hours and hours to do maybe just 30 seconds of a lightsaber scene. Now, this is one scene that I really dreaded doing. I really did not think this through. I'm doing the whole poison makes a good guy a bad guy storyline. I don't know why I thought that was such a great idea back then, and I really cringed. I really cringed when I was watching this footage again. I was like, wow, this is bad. It's just a bad idea. Of course, Colson and Caleb did the best they could of what I gave them. What can you do with your first experimental film that you think is going to be amazing, and then you watch it later, and then you're like, wow, I really thought this was a good idea. So anyway, this shot right here, so maybe just going from my house, look, acting like I'm tired. I mean, I should have made it look like it was night, but of course it was so bright, there was no way I could make it look like it was night outside. Well, duh. Of course I gave Ponzo poison. What did you expect, genius? I'm sorry. But that's just one piece of dollar right there. I really just maybe just hit my head on a wall because I'm like, wow, that was just stupid. Just stupid. But anyway, I wish if I had the chance to reshoot that scene, but there was no way I could actually make it look believable, as in I look 6 years older than I did then. So I really had no idea how I could pull that off. Right here, I told Caleb to act like you're using force lightning to open up the garage door. And what really made this scene work is that it was an automatic garage door. So I had Colson hit the button when Caleb started doing his hand motions for the force lightning. So that was a cool little scene that I came up with on the spot there. Of course, as you can see there, printed that off the internet. It wasn't like original plans. I thought that was genius. I should have really thought in detail about the ULR. Oh, what you know what I mean on top of the page there, but I didn't. That was a cool little moment right there. Like I didn't expect that shot to look that good as Colson just throws his lightsaber in the air. It looks pretty good. Again, some of this dialogue again, I can't apologize enough for some of this bad dialogue, but again, they did the most they could on the spot. Now these shots right here are actually really just shot in the backyard, but made it look like it was all in different locations. Now this was a fun scene to edit in After Effects with lightsabers. It took me around 2 days to do this, and believe it or not, for this scene, we actually used sticks to make the lightsabers line up. But as you can tell, you can see the sticks in the handles, and they're not straight at all. Period. So when I noticed this in After Effects, and now you can see you saw right that the stick just flew right out of my handle. So and you can see right there the sticks out of the handle. So I did the best I could. I mean, I knew it wasn't gonna be great, but I had to choose to make it look good or make it look just terrible, and I chose to make it look good and didn't even care about the sticks. Yeah, again, some of this dialogue, some of this dialogue. You'll hear me say that line a lot. I think for the rest of the film, some of this dialogue. That's actually a really good explosion. Thank you to Video Copilot for making that action pack that has that explosions in it. I could not do some of the effects like that in this film without Video Copilot. I mean, Video Copilot makes some great plugins. Luke Boyd. Now, if there was anyone who could play a younger version of Darth Sidious in a unprofessional experimental film, it's gotta be Luke Boyd. He definitely did the best job he could as Darth Sidious. I was happy I could get him, and I think he was more than happy to play the villain. He always does a great job playing the villain. Carson Such. This scene was thought up on the spot, and like Carson Such, would you like to play a hobo? He was more than happy to do it. Just his acting right here is just hilarious. Carson just did an amazing job as the hobo, and as he's got that really cool hat. He's got Caleb Verican's hat on, and the guitar, and make it look like he's a hobo and act like he's just so hungry. By the way, I ate chicken. That's a great line right there. It's funny. I like that line. Oh yes, another great scene to do in After Effects that took me about 2 days to do. I I cannot stress how hard it is to do some of these effects. People think that lightsabers just are so easy to do in After Effects, and they think anyone can do it. Anyone can do it if you have the time. I spent, I think, at least 30 hours total of doing lightsaber effects. That's how bad uh, it was to do these effects. Again, some of this dialogue that Caleb comes up with on the spot is just great. That little cut right there, I should have maybe cut it a little bit shorter so it doesn't make like he's stopping and walking. But you know, that's a little thing, a little nitpick of mine. Now here comes a scene that I've been just waiting to shoot. The death scene. Lightsaber for the tree. I couldn't not wait to edit that and to make it look as good as possible. Of course, I did not edit that. Of course, it was not originally shot at night, as you could tell probably. I had to do some color correction and make it look like it was shot at night. But anyway, some sound effects, a scream effect. It all came together really nicely, and I was really happy with that shot. This right here, I feel that the camera was a little bit too close to my face, and I really dread really looking at it because it was a really long shot and really I didn't. I felt like the shot could have been really trimmed down, but what could I do? I mean, I wish there was a way I could have reshot that scene, but again, it wouldn't look really good. Again, some of this dialogue that was came up with like it's pretty good. Like Luke Boyd just came up with that piece of dialogue and it was really good. Oh yes, and this is the final scene that took forever to do. Took me about, I think, maybe a day and a half to do this. Now that was Race Bears, and I could not find another retake that we did on this, so that was the only shot we did. So I couldn't edit them out, sadly. But it was still pretty funny though. Now this is a shot that I did film 6 years later to really make it more believable. This is actually though a reshot, I mean a reshoot of a scene that is of me 6 years ago when I was at a computer typing my journal, but it was just way too long. It was just boring. It looked terrible. The dialogue was horrible. So I decided to reshoot that 6 years later, and it actually came out really nicely. Of course, the final scene where Luke Boyd slash Darth Sidious gets to call NASA. This was a little something I came up with in the spot. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if he called NASA and asked to build a spaceship? And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, I want you to build it now. I want it done by next year, and I want it done for free. Of course, that's something we just came up with on the spot. And of course, Cahill Vera can't play the actual Empire March like you heard there at the beginning of the scene. So it all came together pretty nicely, and then, of course, end credits start rolling. Directed by Colton Steele, produced by Colton Steele and Tyler Hooker, of course. Tyler Hooker was my producer, so I was really happy for him. Happy that he came on board to help me out with this. Of course, written by Colton Steele, which wasn't really much written. And I was happy for Dre Spears and Tyler Hooker doing the cinematography for me. Of course, Tyler Hooker and I did a little bit of editing as well, but I did a lot of the editing. But although he did really good edits as well. Colton Steel Film Productions, yay! First film, Colton Steel Film, yeah. First film, of course, first film. So, Star Wars Episode Zero: Rise of Jedi. It could definitely been made better if I had the chance to go back, and if I knew what I knew now, it would have definitely been a better short film that was completed now. Again, I really wish I had the chance to go back and redo it. I mean, it would be really good if I could do that. But you know, what can you do? 6 years later, make it as best as you can. Casting by Colin Steele. I mean, there's a my name's all over this thing, as you can tell. Screenplay. Well, at least Tyler Hooker really helped me out with screenplay and story. Well, story just came up on the spot. Really, I came up with story maybe a day. So, as you can tell. All right. Again, I could not make this film without my great cast. Jake and Race were actually in the deleted scene. And special thanks definitely to the Such family and the Veracamp family. I could not do this without them. And Video Call Pilot's music, it was great for the after credits scene. Dolby Digital for surround sound, amazing. Canon products, and of course Adobe. I could not do this without Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro. Red Giant software and Video Copilot, all these effects. I could not do it. This film without them. Their software, we appreciate it, and of course, very special thanks to George Lucas because I would not be making this film if George Lucas did not create Star Wars. And of course, and this is the after credits scene that I'm most proud of because I got to do full control over this. I made it look exactly the way I wanted to. I lined up the walls, made a whole new set the way exactly I wanted. I took dialogue from the Star Wars films and made it look like it was actually a real ending. And have there, of course, the reveal of Darth Maul being trained by Darth Sidious, which leads into Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So, anyway, guys, that is Star Wars Episode 0, Rise of the Jedi. I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. Yeah, I was glad to make it for you guys and then explain a few things of what was going on behind the scenes of the film and how it was made. So it was a blast. I cannot lie. It was definitely was a blast. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.